Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Ali Hodge, and this is We Reflect the Light. Welcome. This is where we look at current events that are taking place in the world today through the lens of the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. That gives us detailed information on what is taking place in the world today and what is going to take place in the near future from the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. Sisters and brothers, we are at war. This presentation, we're going to be looking at the war that is taking place in the Middle East from scripture, the unsealed scriptures share with us that the war in the Middle East that we're witnessing is titled The War in Heaven. We're going to be speaking on the outcome of this war, the participants in this war, and connecting the unsealed scriptures, the war in heaven, with what we're witnessing in reality in this world right now. And speaking on the characters of this war from the unsealed scriptures standpoint, and speaking on how the war in heaven is going to affect the original black man and woman and the world as we know it. So, sisters and brothers, let's get right into it. Revelations 12:7 through 9. And occurred war in the heaven, the Michael and the angels of him, other to war with the dragon, and the dragon warred in the angels of it. And not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon, the great, the serpent, the archaic, the being called devil, and the Satan, the making to err the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. Sisters and brothers, here the scripture is speaking on Michael. Michael, sisters and brothers, are the God, Master Farad Muhammad, and his angels are Iran and Syria. the Shia Muslims. That Michael and his angels will be at war with the dragon and the angels of it. Sisters and brothers, the dragon will be thrown out of heaven, which is the Middle East. The dragon and his angels. Sisters and brothers, the dragon represents the house of Saudi Arabia. And the angels of the dragon are America, Britain, and false Israel. Here, it states that the dragon the serpent, the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to air the being inhabited whole. So the dragon, Saudi Arabia, is with the devil and the Satan. These superpowers are making to air the inhabitants whole. That means these nations are influencing the rest of the world. Sisters and brothers, America and Britain are the two nations or two superpowers that have been the world rulers. And false Israel has been set up by America and Britain. So, sisters and brothers, the dragon fuels the reality of America and Britain. Now, the devil and the Satan, America, Britain, and false Israel, the synagogue of the Satan, are the rulers of this world. Sisters and brothers, the Caucasian nations are the rulers of this world. and America and Britain are ruling over them, the Caucasian nations. Now, for sure, we know that the Caucasian nations is ruling this world. It's not anyone else ruling this world. The original man is not ruling this world. The Caucasian nations are the rulers of this world. And America and Britain and false Israel are ruling over them. So they're influencing the whole inhabitants, the whole world. And they're the ones ruling or have control of the Middle East. They're the power, they're the rulers, they're controlling heaven. And this scripture is sharing with us, letting us know that the devil, America, and Britain, these ones ruling the Middle East and have control of the Middle East, that are in the Middle East. America has military bases throughout the Middle East. Britain is stationed in the Middle East. And false Israel has been set up in the Middle East, the synagogue of the Satan, by America and Britain. Now, scripture states, and the dragon warred and the angels of it, and not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. So this is saying not a place was found of them in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon, the great, the serpent, the archaic, the being called devil, and the Satan. So it's sharing with that the dragon, the synagogue, the house of Saudi Arabia, and its angels, America, Britain, and false Israel, will be thrown out. It says he was thrown into the earth. So they're thrown out of heaven into the earth. And the angels of him with him were thrown. So the dragon and his angels was thrown out of heaven. So, sisters and brothers, the unsealed scriptures is identifying what we're witnessing in the Middle East. And the outcome of this war in the Middle East will be that America will be thrown out of the Middle East, as well as the dragon, the house of Saud, and Britain. So they will be thrown out of the Middle East. And false Israel, sisters and brothers, will be will be sieged, and then destroyed in Palestine or in the Middle East. So this is what the scripture is sharing with us, that this is what is going to happen. These nations, the dragon and the devil and the Satan, the dragon, the serpent. So they're going to be thrown out of the Middle East. That's what this scripture shares with us. That is the outcome of, that will be the outcome of the war in heaven, the war in the Middle East that we're witnessing, the war that America, Britain, and false Israel, and Saudi Arabia, the House of Saud, are at war with Iran. Iran, along with the access of the resistance, but the scripture said Iran, Master Farad, Muhammad's angel, and Syria will remove will, no, not remove, will throw America and Britain, America, Britain, and Saudi Arabia, the monarchy, out of Arabia. That's just what that also is speaking about. You know, this they had this monarchy ruling throughout the Middle East. This, I want to say hegemon. This family that is stationed, ruling in these countries in throughout the region that are aligned with America, Britain, and false Israel. They're all at war with Iran. All of them, the superpowers. You have three nuclear power countries, the two world superpowers, the rulers of this world, the rulers of this world. You have America and Britain, false Israel, the ones that are ruling this world, at war with Iran. So Iran, sisters and brothers, is no coincidence. Why is Iran at war with all four plus the Gulf state all at once? sisters and brothers, and is being successful in their campaign of resisting this war of aggression by the superpowers, those that want to rule over, to keep rulership of this planet, those that are going in countries and taking over them. So these are the superpowers that Iran is fighting against, the rulers of this world, the nations that are influencing the world. America and Britain is ruling. America are ruling over NATO. NATO is the West or the other European nations. And America rules over them. Now, we're going to look at a clip that is going to be speaking on the dragon and his angels and giving details about what's taking place with the dragon and its angels and how they're being defeated, how Iran is defeating them or dealing with them, and what Iran is going to do with them, to them. As this war keeps intensifying. So, sisters and brothers, this is the outcome of this war. And many thinks that this war is going to subside or quit. That's not what the scripture shares. It shares that this war will end with America, with the house of Saud, who is the dragon, Saudi Arabia, and the monarchy will be removed out of the Middle East, as well as America and Britain, who are squatting, occupying land and areas inside of the Middle East, using their militaries to bully, take, and set up in these nations. And the scripture shares with us that they're going to be thrown out of the Middle East, out of heaven, and false Israel will be sieged, put under siege, and then destroyed in the faith while the world is watching. So, Professor Marandi and Denny Hafan is going to be speaking on what's taking place, because they're hiding. You wouldn't get what's really happening, because they're blocking, keeping the truth, blocking the truth from the people of what's taking place, what's really taking place. So let's get right into it, sisters and brothers. All right. Let's see what we got. This is Michael and the angels. Again, showing Master Farad Muhammad will eventually make his showing along with his angels, along with Iran and Syria. So sometime inside of this war, when the war escalates to a certain point, Master Farad Muhammad will be intervening in this war in the Middle East. Am I going backwards? No, no.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Zero Standing High Father. As you can see, I am joined by Professor Mohammed Marandi, joining me from Iran. Professor Marandi, great to see you again.
Thank you, Danny. It's always a great pleasure being on your show.
Everyone hit the like button as we get started here. Well, Professor Marandi, you called it, as you have often in this war. Iran has retaliated very hard after a number of developments just in the last 24 hours. What we had first was, of course, CENTCOM, the United States, striking Keshem Island, striking an Iranian ship. This happened over the last few days. And then overnight, Iran retaliated very hard. They promised, the Iranian military did, that every response would be harsher and different, and that it should serve as a lesson. I'm just going to review the damage, and then I can put up some footage as you're reacting to it, Professor Marandi. According to now satellite images that are coming out, Iran did fire quite a number of missiles. According to reports in the satellite images, 4 warehouses in Kuwait were destroyed, a hangar in Kuwait as well, the Ali Al Salam Air Base, a hangar there was destroyed. The airport terminal, now we don't know exactly what destroyed the airport terminal because there are footage of U.S. interceptors going completely awry, but the Terminal 1 at the airport terminal in Kuwait was destroyed, and now there's confirmed, and I can pull that one up, satellite imagery that shows that there's a fire in Bahrain, the other country that saw U.S. assets targeted there, a fire at the secure airbase. So now we're hearing dozens of people were actually injured in these strikes. We don't know exactly who or like how they were injured because U.S. Provided interceptors were going up, and some of them were coming right back down on people's heads. So, Professor Roddy, your reaction to this retaliation by Iran, why is it happening now? And we are seeing Donald Trump not saying very much about this other than CENTCOM's report that nothing got through and everything was intercepted.
I think it shows that CENTCOM should never be trusted, and that the things that they've been saying in the past.
Grip, stability, precision
Are probably just as untrue as what we're seeing now. Now, Iran has said that they will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weapons. They will not be able to use nuclear weap The Kuwaiti airport, I don't know if Iran struck it or not, but it is used by the United States Air Force. And every day, there are a number of planes come and go, which belong to the U.S. Armed Forces. These countries, as we've discussed many times before, they are a part of this war. They're engaged in war with Iran, and as long as there are U.S. troops, as long as there are U.S. jets, as long as there are U.S. missiles, and as long as the United States uses their airspace, for Iran, they're legitimate targets, and Iran will retaliate. And this round began with the United States targeting an Iranian oil tanker, or an oil tanker that was associated with Iran or moving towards an Iranian port, a civilian target at a time of ceasefire. So the Iranians basically sent a harsh message that we're not going to tolerate this anymore. From now on, you strike, we strike much harder. And so you've seen huge damage uh, uh, in Kuwait on U.S. bases and in Bahrain. But the problem is, of course, that the United States and these regimes uh, they continue to engage in warfare against Iran because bombing Iran or bombing civilian ships or bombing anyone in Iran is an act of war. But in addition to that, siege warfare is an extension of the hot war. It is an act of war. And again, these countries are cooperating with the United States. And for Iran, they consider them as aggressors.
Yeah, well, here's I was putting up some of the evidence contradicting CENTCOM's statements that nothing hit at all. Even the strike that happened a few days ago across Sarandi in Kuwait, again targeting the air base by Iran. Americans were injured in that. I think about almost nearly a handful. So this is getting, it seems like hot again. Do you feel, Professor Brandi, that Iran is taking these strikes on, especially Keshim Island? I think it's been twice now, maybe even more times that the U.S. has struck there. Are they taking this seriously in part because they know that the United States and Israel are, while they may not feel like they can start the war fully because of, let's say, ammunition issues. They've been talking about invading an island, even a limited invasion. They've been talking about targeting islands such as these militarily in the medium term, long term plan for the war. Iran, what are Iran's calculations here in terms of how it responds to every U.S. ceasefire violation from here?
Grip, stability, precision.
The Iranians believe that the United States, if it has an opportunity to attack Iran, to bomb Iran, and get away with it, it will do it. And the only way to create deterrence is to make Trump and Netanyahu pay a very high price. And so, and we've seen that throughout this war, that Iran does not escalate. It does not initiate war. It does not escalate. But in this war, what it did was that when there was escalation, it would hit back very hard. And we saw that, for example, when they hit Iran's South Pars gas field, the Iranians retaliated and hit the Atari gas field very hard, and the Emirati installations very hard, and that caused Trump to put out a Truth Social saying that this won't happen again. So Iran believes that they have to respond with strength. During the last couple of skirmishes, the U.S. again they initiated the skirmishes. The Iranians responded, and this time the Iranians responded much harder, with a very significant strike to send Trump a message and the Trump regime a message that we are not intimidated and we're going to make you regret whatever you do against Iran. And I think the Iranians feel very confident about their position, militarily speaking. And we also saw that in Lebanon when the Netanyahu regime said that they were going to strike Beirut. The Iranians then said that they're going to start firing missiles at northern uh, Palestine, and then that we saw the Trump Netanyahu phone call and or two phone calls apparently, and Trump allegedly or supposedly used the F word when speaking to Netanyahu and so on. But uh, regardless of what we think about that conversation and about the Axios report, because Axios is not an honest outlet and not a reliable one. But if let's assume that this conversation actually did take place, which is quite plausible in this particular case, that I think indicates that the Americans understand and the Trump regime understands Iran's strength, and it knows that Iran has the upper hand. So in the case of Lebanon, the Iranians say that enough is enough. You bomb Beirut or any part of Beirut, we're going to pound northern Israel. And Ansarullah in Yemen has also said that they will get involved. And but simultaneously, the siege on the Strait of Hormuz, which is a double-edged sword for Trump, that siege is also wrecking the global economy. So the Iranians know that the United States needs a deal. Trump needs a deal. Today, Trump said that he can wait till September, but I don't think that's really based on what experts on the energy market and economists are saying. He doesn't have that sort of time. So the Iranians, in addition to threatening to strike the Israelis, and they were prepared, they were going to strike the Israeli regime yesterday early in the morning. But then when they backed down, they decided to wait. But if they do strike Beirut, the Iranians will hit them. But in any case, alongside that, the Iranians said we're no longer going to send messages to the United States. In other words, the messages that went back and forth to see if they can strike a deal, the Iranians have said we're not interested right now until the situation in Lebanon becomes changes. Now, that, of course, is a message to Trump saying that if you don't do something about Lebanon and Gaza, because Iran has said clearly that Iran in the beginning said it's the entire region, but they also, in a couple of days ago, named Gaza. They named Gaza instead of just saying the entire region. They said Lebanon and Gaza. So Trump knows that if there is another wave of missiles and airstrikes between the two sides, then this MOU, this potential agreement would go back weeks at least, and that would be catastrophic for the U.S. economy. So I think that the Iranians feel that they are in a strong position. Of course, that doesn't mean that the United States will not strike. That doesn't mean the Israeli regime will not strike. But the Iranians do feel that they're in a strong position.
That seems to be your words, Professor Martin, seem to be backed up by the facts here. And, Donald Trump himself told New York Post, because the New York Post asked him directly, I would play the video, but we can't share audio through this platform. But basically, the gist of it was he confirmed he said those words to Netanyahu. However, he described his feelings about the situation as being perturbed. And of course, the good old, we have a great relationship between each other and all of that. But nonetheless, Professor Marty, it also seemed like, Israel flaunted Iran's threats. The U.S. seemed to, the U.S. seemed to take them very, very, very seriously. And then Israel kept striking Lebanon anyway. And in some respects, it seems like yesterday's retaliation too, according to at least Iran and how they're talking, the military, it's a warning that Iran can still strike very hard. Do you foresee then? It doesn't seem like Israel is a want for doing anything it can't do, like for example, stop killing people in Lebanon and Palestine. Do you foresee then that Iran will have to make good on its threats anyway, given that Israel is always unhinged and unable to control itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it can't control itself. It takes pleasure in killing, and we see that in Lebanon. There's right. I mean, Western journalists in Lebanon. I mean, legacy media journalists, corporate media journalists. They are partners in this genocide. They're as sinister as the diplomats in Beirut, Western diplomats in Beirut, because they know what's going on, but they refuse to tell the truth. The Israeli regime is not only bombing families, and not only flattening towns and villages, and not only carrying out carpet bombing in cities in southern and central Lebanon, but they're also targeting medics. They're seeking them out across the country and bombing ambulances and bombing medics. And something like 130 to 140 medics have been killed so far. So they seek them out. It's quite stunning that this is not something in any of the Western media outlets or none of the Western, because the West has all these NGOs, human rights NGOs, women's rights NGOs, well funded, but they've all gone silent. They've disappeared for the last 2.5 years. I'm sure they're still making a lot of money, but they're very quiet. So the Iranians know that the West supports all this, and Western media, through its silence, is facilitating the genocide, and therefore Iran, they threaten the Israeli regime, and ultimately, if Iran feels that things are going to go too far, it will extend those threats. It will go further, and Iran is not going to allow the Lebanese to be ethnically cleansed.
That's right.
And Iran is going to take reparations for Lebanon too. Have no doubt about it. And all of those buildings will be rebuilt. Hezbollah is doing an extraordinary job. They are really humiliating this sinister regime. And in their rage, they go and bomb kids and families and hospitals and ambulances because they are losing on the battlefield. And again, this Hezbollah is just amazing. They've been amazing since it's been amazing what they've been doing since their inception. And it's very sad to see that what the Americans and the Europeans are doing in Lebanon right now, how sinister it is. Those NGOs that I was alluding to, right now, they're funded by the West. What they and these Arab regimes in the Persian Gulf are doing is they're funding their proxies in Lebanon, their agents, and telling them not to allow refugees in their neighborhoods. So the West is telling it's coordinating with it and its NGOs and those people who they fund. They're refusing to allow refugees into neighborhoods that are controlled or influenced by these groups. And the Saudis and the Qataris and the Emiratis and others, they too are doing the same thing. They're telling people not to allow the refugees to come to their neighborhood. So what the plan, and the Lebanese government is doing the same. The prime minister and the president, they're basically U.S. agents. They are also preventing the refugees from. So what the Israelis and the West and these Arab dictatorships are trying to do is to corner them, to make them desperate, to crush the resistance, their supporters. Of course, there are people from all backgrounds, religious and so on, that ignore them and support the resistance. The resistance has support from all the different communities: Christian, Muslim, Druze, Shia, Sunni. Polls show that they have strong support, especially among the youth, especially among the youth. But I'm just trying to point out how sinister Western embassies are, and Qatar and Saudi Arabia and the Emirates are. They're all collaborating with Israel. It's the same thing as in Syria. They all collaborated against Syria, did a dirty war for the sake of Israel. Right now, if the current regime, we knew that if Syria would fall, that it would be a U.S. proxy, and Al Qaeda and ISIS are U.S. proxies. Right now is the best time for the Syrians to resist and to take back their land because the Israeli regime is overextended. But these fanatical Wahhabis and Al Qaeda people, are they going to do anything against Israel? Of course not. That was never a part of the plan. If they would, the Iranians would support. The first people to support them would be Iran and the resistance. I mean, Turkey under Erdogan would never do anything like that. But Iran would immediately help. But it was obvious that this was not going to happen. So Hezbollah is surrounded by Al Qaeda and ISIS, by U.S. proxies in Beirut and in Lebanon, and Saudi and Qatari Emirati proxies, and the Israeli regime. But despite all that, they're battering the Israeli regime on the battlefield. And that is something that history books will be talking about in the decades ahead. This, alongside the defeat of the United States on the battlefield against Iran, I think are the two most extraordinary moments of this region in decades. Even I think it's greater than the 33-day war where Hezbollah defeated the Israeli regime, because this time around Hezbollah is truly surrounded.
Yeah, and
All right, sisters and brothers. Now, Professor Miranda and Danny have fun. Now, they show what's taking place, right? What's happening, or what is happening in the past day. Well, it's been 2 days now. And what America is doing in heaven or in the Middle East. Now, also, Professor Moran also shared that the Carter, Bahrain and Kuwait, the UAE, those monarchies that are allowing the U.S. to use their airspace and have military bases in their countries, that they're using. These are the these are the areas that the U.S. is storing weapons, bombs, and are carrying out their attacks on Iran from. And he shared that these areas are being used daily by the U.S. military. So, sisters and brothers, as we see the it's also speaking on like these that Iran has stepped away from all negotiations with America because America still attacks and bombs Iran during talks, peace talks or negotiations. And the last two attacks on Iran by America and false Israel took place while they were um, in negotiations. So America and false Israel are, Iran don't trust nothing. Trust them not one bit. Then you can't. And um, as well as America and false Israel controlling the media to keep the common people, the people, from knowing what is actually taking place in the war. So you're not being told, the true or the how many casualties or bomb or what has been bombed. All the information is being blocked or hidden so that you can only so you have to take their narrative that they're presenting. However, sisters and brothers, um, this is going that there's not going to be a peaceful end to this. There's not going to be um, a diplomatic solution. No, this war is escalating while we speaking. It's heating back up and it's going to escalate. The outcome, America and false Israel and the dragon, Britain, they're not going to allow. They're going to become more and more violent, trying to keep their um, control or rule in the region because they want to control the oil, the resources that are in the region. However, scripture states that they're going to be thrown out, that heaven or the Middle East is going to be cleared out, cleaned out. Saudi Arabia, the house of Saud, is going to be removed. They're being protected and backed by America and Britain. But they're going to be removed as well as America and Britain. They're going to be not removed, thrown out. It says they're going to be thrown out forcefully out of the Middle East or out of heaven. And false Israel is going to be sieged and then destroyed. And that is what we're witnessing. So, sisters and brothers, we're going to look at exactly another clip to tell you exactly what Iran is saying is exactly what the scripture said is going to happen. So Iran has already shared with America. This is one of Iran's demands, that America has to get out of the Middle East, out of heaven. They got to go. They got to shut down all their military bases. They've already been given an opportunity by Iran to shut down and just get out. So this is what Iran's ultimate goal, and it's in line with what scriptures, what the unsealed scriptures shares with us. Now, let us look at this clip, sisters and brothers, of what Iran is stating that has to happen. As long as America has to go, as well as they're sharing that false Israel, there will be no peace in the region until false Israel is annihilated, destroyed. So let's look at that. A clip for that.
We are.
All right.
Tensions in West Asia have reached yet another boiling point as a powerful statement from Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, the IRGC, has sent shockwaves across the region and beyond. In a strongly worded declaration, the IRGC has condemned recent Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, calling them not only an act of aggression, but part of what it describes as a long and violent campaign against Palestinian leadership and civilians. But it was the final message in the statement that drew the most attention and sparked immediate global concern. According to the IRGC, peace in West Asia as it exists today is impossible. Their words were unambiguous, uncompromising, and deeply confrontational. They warned that the region will not see stability or security unless, in their own words, the Israeli regime is completely removed. The statement came in response to the assassination of senior figures within Hamas in Gaza, including Mohammed Odeh, who was killed alongside his wife and 3 children in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City. Also named was Ezzedine el-Haddad, a senior commander of the Izz ad-Din el-Qassam brigades, described as a veteran of decades-long conflict against Israel. The IRGC condemned the killings as brutal and deliberate, accusing Israel of what it called predatory and destructive behavior. It stated that such strikes, rather than weakening resistance movements, would only intensify determination and deepen the cycle of conflict across the region. Israel, for its part, confirmed the targeting of Hamas military leadership, saying the operations were aimed at eliminating key operational commanders responsible for attacks. However, the IRGC's response framed the situation very differently, portraying the assassinations as evidence of what it calls an ongoing campaign against Palestinian resistance. The statement emphasized that every killing, every strike, and every escalation only strengthens what it describes as the continuation of the struggle until the liberation of Palestine and El-Quds. The IRGC also launched a sharp political attack on Washington and its allies, criticizing long-standing Western support for Israel. It dismissed proposed peace initiatives in the region, including plans announced earlier by U.S. President Donald Trump, calling them ineffective and, in its words, built on violence, coercion, and instability. According to the statement, such proposals do not represent peace at all, but rather the continuation of conflict under a different name. The IRGC further accused Western governments of ignoring what it describes as decades of Israeli military actions, saying these events have exposed contradictions in global human rights claims and international diplomacy. It argued that the reality on the ground has now become undeniable and that global opinion is shifting in ways that cannot be reversed. The statement concluded with a reaffirmation of Iran's support for what it calls the axis of resistance and its commitment to opposing Israeli presence in the region. It declared that the struggle will continue politically, ideologically, and militarily until what it calls occupied territories are liberated. As the region watches closely, one question now hangs over an already fragile geopolitical landscape. Is this another escalation in rhetoric or a signal of a deeper and more dangerous phase in an already volatile conflict?
All right, sisters and brothers. This is sharing with you, and it lines up with what the unsealed scripture shares with us. That Iran is sharing exactly, or is in line or in the same, sharing the same outcome or presenting the same outcome or understanding that there will be no peace, there will be no peace in the region until false Israel is destroyed, completely destroyed. And they're sharing that, they're going to keep resisting, that there will not be no, that they're not, they're not compromising, they're not even speaking. They're going to keep retaliating. They're going to keep this axis of resistance. They're going to keep fighting for the liberation of the nations, or the Palestinians, Lebanon and Syria. They're going to keep fighting for them. And in sharing with you, the Syrians right now, this is the best time for the Syrians to stand up. They think that Syria is dead, but it's not. And the unsealed scriptures lets us know that Iran and Syria is the God's army, Michael's army, or angels. So, sisters and brothers, what's taking place is a line. This is what's happening in the real world. This and and the scriptures, they're what you're witnessing is exactly what the scriptures are sharing. And the outcome of this war has been shared with us from the unsealed scripture or from the messenger of the covenant, sharing with us the outcome of this war from the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. Is while we know the outcome in detail of what is going to take place, what the outcome of this war would be. And sisters and brothers will witness it. It's what you're seeing is exactly what the scripture or what the scripture has shared with us and what is being shared with you by the messenger of the covenant, the truth that is being given, the light from the light of the angel. So we're gonna let's see something. All right, sisters and brothers, now America this war in the Middle East, the war in heaven. America is has a blockade on is trying to say that they're carrying out a blockade on Iran. And Iran has the control and has shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which 20% of the world's oil supply comes through. So several million barrels that usually come through the Strait of Hormuz are not come per day are not being moved. So Iran is using the Strait of Hormuz as a choke point, stopping energy from being transferred from the region, from the Middle East, or from through the Strait of Hormuz. And this is affecting the world's economy because the nations of the world uh, get their oil or gas or their energy source that runs their economies from the Middle East. And America and false Israels attack on Iran is causing a shortage on the world's oil supply because Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And as which they have now, it's already in their waters. They're controlling it and they're demanding you know, who is able to come in, navigate their waters to come in and out of the Middle East, and who's going to receive oil or energy or urea or which is fertilizer and many other um, and many other um, um, resource, natural resources that is needed around the country. Excuse me, around the world that is also not being moved through the Strait of Hormuz because Iran has shut it down. So this effect is affecting the nations of the world. And the outcome of this war, sisters and brothers, lets us know that it's not going to get better because the more Iran, the more America attacks Iran, America and false Israel attacks Iran, the more that it's just going to cause Iran to become more that Iran is not going to let up. And America and false Israel are just going to find themselves becoming more violent as the days goes because they're going to keep trying and being frustrated because they're going to keep on trying to regain control over Iran or over the Middle East or over the access of resistance, and their weakness is showing that, so they're going to keep trying to exert that they have power, that they're strong, and everything they attempt to do is going to backfire on them. And they're eventually going to be thrown out of the Middle East, and false Israel is going to be sieged and destroyed. But they're going to keep on until Iran, that there's no oil being moved, and it's going to cause a world economic collapse. America's economics is going to collapse here in America and around the world. So it's going to, what is the outcome is going to affect the world, sisters and brothers, and it is going to affect America. They're not will not be exempt to what the backlash, the effects of this um economic collapse. So, sisters and brothers, the blocking of Strait of Hormuz is affecting more than just oil.
Fertilizer shortages. Fertilizer shortages are becoming a key factor for farmers. Analysts say it's already shifting expectations for the year ahead. Rabobank projects U.S. farmers will plant nearly 96 million
Let's
acres of corn and more than 83 million acres of soybeans this spring, largely unaffected by rising input costs. But in other parts of the world, disruptions from the Middle East could hit hardest. Brazil, India, and Australia could limit crop expansion and reduce yields. Analysts say those pressures are most likely to affect farmers with less access to credit, raising concerns for global food production and long-term supply.
Due to the ongoing US-Israel and Iran conflict, you must prepare for a severe food shortage. Most people think only oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, but that is simply not true. This narrow waterway is also an important route for global fertilizer. Reportedly, around 50% of the world's traded urea fertilizer moves directly through the Strait of Hormuz. If this military standoff continues, a global food crisis is inevitable. Urea plays a critical role in food production, and the biggest producers are located around the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Large shipments from these nations pass through this route daily. If the strait remains disrupted, we face a massive fertilizer crisis. When supply drops, global agriculture is heavily affected. Dependent countries like Pakistan, India, Brazil, and African nations will face major problems. If this route stays blocked, the impact goes beyond energy markets, triggering higher food prices, lower crop production, and severe shortages. Tell me below what will happen next.
All right, sisters and brothers. This is not the scripture shared with us that the time of famine is coming, a time of unprecedented trouble. And what's taking place in the world in your face, sisters and brothers, that you have to prepare for. You have to understand how this war and what's taking place in this war, how it's affecting the world, and how it's going to change or affect the world. What changes is going to bring up on the world. And if you're paying attention, they're sharing with you the outcome. What war does, it drives prices up. Gas prices, food prices, everything rises. So it's directly affecting who here in America? Directly, it's going to affect the original black man and woman here in America because we're already at the bottom. And with what's taking place, it's going to get bad. So those that were already at the bottom they're going to feel it first. It's going to affect them the most. They're already at the bottom. And it starts at the bottom and goes up to the top. However, we're already at the bottom. So, sisters and brothers, it's been shared that through scripture, what the outcome is, and that famine is coming up at that it will be in there. You're being told it's going to be a food shortages on from how the food shortage is coming about. That okay, they're not growing. They got a shortage on urea, so they're not growing the amounts that the big amounts that they will grow, and it's going to be less yield. So it's going to be less food and already a shortage of food. So it's sharing with us that we're going to, that the world, nations are going to have shortages, are going to experience famine. And that's what the unsealed scriptures share with us as well, sisters and brothers. And here, sisters and brothers, this famine is going to get so bad that scripture tells us that they're going to, it's going to be famine and cannibalism, that a woman will hide and have her baby in secret, that she won't make no noise because she wants to hide and have her baby in secret so that she can eat her child and eat the afterbirth. Sisters and brothers, they already have us labeled as 3/5 of a human. So in the time of famine, when they get hungry, we're already seen as animals. So they can eat us. They've already justified why, we're sweet black meat, that they can take us and put us on over a fire and eat us. So let's read Micah 3:1-3. I said, listen, you leaders of Israel, you are supposed to know right from wrong, but you are the very ones who hate good and love evil. You skin my people alive and tear the flesh from their bones. Yes, you eat my people's flesh. Strip off their skin and break their bones. You chop them up like meat for the cooking pot. So this is the scripture lets us know what they do, what they intend to do to us, and what they will do. They see us as animals, 3/5 of a human, so they're labeled as animals. That's their justification. That puts justification in their mind so that in the time of famine, they look at us as, oh, it's not a famine. We're walking cattle. We're walking around and we're sweet black meat. So, sisters and brothers, you see this picture here? This is not. This is what they think. This is how they think. You see this? This is meat. This is how they see us, and they're cutting this, and it's a reminder of it's. This is look. Who? What are they saying there? That we're gonna eat your black. We will eat your black butt. We will eat you, or we have already eaten you, and we will eat you again. You see, that's their mind frame. That's where they're at in their mind. Yes, that they will cut you open. We see a knife, cut your guts out, then cut your legs off or whatever, whatnot. That's what they're thinking. That's what's in their mind. They thought that think it's funny, but that's how they see us, sisters and brothers, as food. And they're going to attack us all. And sisters and brothers, they intend, this is what the unsealed scripture says. Yes, this is telling you that they will eat you. They will skin you from, they will tear your flesh from your bones. Yes, you eat my people's flesh. Strip off their skin and break their bones. You chop them up like meat for the cooking pot. So, sisters and brothers, they're planning in time of famine. Oh, they already have a justification of why they're going to eat us, why they want to attack you, why they're your sweet black meat. So, sisters and brothers, this is the outcome of the outcome of this war. Now, false Israel is going to be destroyed. And America is going to be thrown out, Britain's going to be thrown out, and the House of Saudi Arabia will be thrown out of the Middle East. America is not going to stop until they're thrown out. They're going to protect and false Israel and try to protect their assets and the dragon in the Middle East, their control of the region. They're going to keep trying until they're thrown out. They're going to keep trying to show that they're powerful, and they're going to keep failing. And it's going to keep backfiring because America cannot allow false Israel to be destroyed. Sisters and brothers, false Israel has been set up by America in 1948 to counter the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's narrative that the original black man and woman are the true seed of Abraham. So false Israel has stolen our identity and been set up in the Middle East as if they're God's chosen people. And who is the God that is keeping them in the Middle East, supplying them, backing them? Paying them, going to war for them. America and Britain, those who set them up. They're the God that is keeping them in the Middle East, who has set them in the Middle East to try to act as if false Israel is God's chosen people and to make us think that the Abrahamic covenant has already been fulfilled. So, sisters and brothers, let's bring this to a close in bringing understanding that the Abrahamic covenant is also giving us an understanding of directly of why it's directly connected to what we're witnessing is directly connected to the war in heaven, because the Abrahamic covenant shares with Abram's seed that God has given them a land, and that land that God has given them is the land from the river Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, which is Arabia. So, sisters and brothers, let's do it like this. All right. Who is Abraham's seed? Who's the true seed of Abraham? Who has the qualifications and who doesn't? But this is what they're intending to keep us from, knowing that we're the true seed of Abraham, and have America is attempting, has set this counter narrative, this lie, this idol of false Israel in front of the world as they're the true seed of Abraham. And this is why false Israel has to be destroyed and is going to be destroyed first. Now, destroyed, not thrown out. False Israel is going to be destroyed first. Literally. Now, let's read the covenant first. We're going to do the covenant first. Verse 18 of Genesis chapter 15. In that day God made a covenant with Abram, saying, until thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Sisters and brothers, this is the Abrahamic covenant. This is our vision. This is the vision that they are attempting and blocking from us, trying to keep us from knowing that this is our vision. This is the vision that we will unify up under as a people, as a nation. The vision of returning home. See, they don't want us to know that God has given us this land. They don't want us to know that we have a land. That they want us to think that false Israel was set up by God or set in the Middle East and are fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant. That's what they want the world to believe. That's what they want us to believe, because a people without a nation, a people without a vision will perish. We will not be able to unify. We will be going different directions, no unity, nothing to unify up under. This is our vision, the Abrahamic covenant, returning home, returning to our land. So knowing that we're not accepting any land here, the Abrahamic covenant shares with us what our reward is, what God has given us, where we're going. It gives us direction and purpose to unify up under. So we know from what the scripture shares that we're not staying here in America, that we're not getting reparations, that we're coming out of here. This is the covenant. This is what we're unifying. It's sharing where we're going. That God has made this covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land. And this is the land Arabia, the house of Sod, is sitting on. So you see the connection of what's taking place in heaven. Why is it called heaven? It's the Holy Land. It's heaven. So we know that our land is in where they call heaven. Excuse me. So we're returning home. We're not accepting anything else. This is where we're going. This is our unification. This is what we're unifying. This is what will bring us together as a people. Our vision as a people, direction and purpose is given to us. This is where we're going. This is where we're returning to. And Abram's vision, Genesis chapter 15, verse 12 through 17, shares with us in detail what Abram's seed would endure through, where they would be. Now, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. But thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquities of the Amorites are not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch that passed between these pieces. It's letting us know. It's shared with that we'll be sojourners in a land that is not ours. And we will be enslaved and afflicted. Afflicted, sisters and brothers. So America is a place of our affliction. The furnace of affliction. This is where this nation, this land is this country has been built on the affliction of the original black man and woman, consistently afflicting us 400 years. No let up. Pressurizing us, putting pressure on us for 400 years, torturing us, murdering us, killing us, hanging us, skinning us, burning us, feeding us shit, feeding our children to alligators, using all types of torture methods that they've put on us. They've taken our minds, our ideas, everything has been taken from us, our language. And they have done that. It shares with for 400 years we will be afflicted here in a strange land. And after that 400 years, so sisters and brothers, it tells us a time period. Now, we will be enslaved and afflicted. There's a time period put to this. So 1619 is the official start of America's slavery. So 1619 is the start of the time period. So from 1619 to 2019, that's the 400-year period. And 2020 came in and with a plague that identified, gave us a sign that of the time that America's judgment has started, because after that 400 years, we will be brought out with great substance, with great wealth, and America will be judged. And that nation, the world, that those that have afflicted us will be judged. So America and the world is being judged, and that judgment started in 2020. The scriptures let us know what would that plague look like. That plague would kill the firstborn of Egypt, which the firstborn is the elderly. They were born first. In 2020, so COVID-19 was directly targeting the elderly, the firstborn, and it didn't pass over false Israel, America. No, it decimated them. It decimated the Caucasian nation, but it passed over the original black man and woman here in America. It passed us over. So it was a sign for us to understand the time. And it brings us to where we are now. Sisters and brothers, now, this war is clearing out. It says after that 400 years, they will come out with great substance. Thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in that fourth generation, that generation that they shall come hither again. So after that 400 years, that generation that is living after that 400-year period will come out with great substance, and they shall come hither. That means that they shall come where, return to where Abram was, hither. Which is in Arabia again. So it lets us know and gives us a time limit and how we and what will happen to that nation and how we will come out with great substance and where we're going. This is directing, giving us clear details of what we're to do as a nation. Now, sisters and brothers, in this, it states Abram. And America calls us and shares with us that we're Ham or Hamites. Know us that we were one of Noah's sons, from Noah's son that was cursed black, was cursed for looking at Noah drunk on the ground. So and laughed. So we were made to be cursed. Now, so America is calling us Ham. So Abram is separated from his seed Ham. So in the scripture is calling Abram, not Abraham, Abram, because the Ham, his seed is separated from him. So when Abram and his seed comes back together in that land, when they return home to their land, that's the Abrahamic covenant, because Abram has unified or came back together with his lost seed Ham, his seed that was in another place or country, in another land out of theirs. And when they return home and they've been styled or called Ham away, Ham, Abram, and Ham unifies in now this Abraham. But the scripture says Abram. So that's just another detail, sisters and brothers, that lets you know who we are. And sisters and brothers, false Israel is going to be destroyed first. And false Israel's destruction is going to cause America to attack us all before false Israel's destruction, because they know when false Israel is destroyed, their religious eschatology and that lie that false Israel is God's chosen people is going to be destroyed with false Israel. So it's going to release, that lie is going to be removed, and it's going to cause us, the original black man and woman, to know for sure that we're the true seed of Abraham. And it's going to cause us to see and recognize who we are, and we're going to unify up under our vision. We'll be able to understand who we are, so to unite and rise up under our vision, we'll know our vision and where we're going. So we're to come together, unify, unite as one army, one people, one nation, one body. And we're going to leave America. We're coming up out of here. We're not staying here. We're going home. We're returning home. God is going to return us to our land. Yes, sisters and brothers, we have to go through tribulations, a time of unprecedented trouble, but we will come out unscathed as long as we use our 5 pillars, higher our pressure, overcome these devils, keep our pressure high. High pressure defeats low pressure. And get our minds, our new mind, the angel mind, and we're going to come up out of here. Sisters and brothers. So this is what we're witnessing right now, as well as it connects us to the land. It brings that connection to the land is, you know, why they're against us. And the dragon, the house inside, it tells us that he's there, he's sitting waiting to devour our nation, devour the child. They're going to attack us as well, because they don't want to give up our land. They're blocking to try keep the land. And they're doing that. America is protecting them because America needs the energy. False Israel needs that energy. Britain needs that energy from our land. So none of them want us to know, because they know we're coming for our land. However, sisters and brothers, Iran, Master Muhammad, Syria, they are going to throw them out of our land and take control of that land and hand it over to us. And they see that is what's happening. That's why they're all an alliance against Iran as we speak. All of the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, America, Britain, and for all are in a alliance against Iran, but they will not be victorious. Iran is standing against them all and putting a hurting on them, as Professor Morali shared, that they're going to show power, hit them with showing every time that they move that they're going to be hit harder and harder, far more aggressive than they were every time they do anything. So, sisters and brothers, we're going to bring this segment to a close. We are the true seed of Abraham. The Abrahamic covenant is our vision, is where we're going. We're unifying up under our covenant to return to our land. We're not accepting anything less than going home. God has given us a land. Anyone sharing with you anything other than what God has given us, then they're against the covenant. They're against us. They're against us as a people. They want to accept something else other than what God has given us. They want us to sell out our birthright, change the covenant. They want us to take something else, or want us to stay here in the land of our affliction instead of returning home to our land. We're not doing that, sisters and brothers. We will be successful. We have a way out. This is the doorway out of America. Out of here. God has given us the land from the river Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. It is ours, sisters and brothers. With that, I'm going to bring this segment to a close. Know that America is going to attack us all. They're planning to deal shrewdly with us. But their plan is known. It is being shared with us. So their plan, they can plan, but the best of plan, we know their plans. The unsealed scriptures give us detailed information of what their plans is. So it's not going to take us by surprise. Sisters and brothers, we're aware of their plans. So, sisters and brothers, let us bring this presentation to a close. We will be successful. They can't do anything to us. We will rise. We will unite up under our vision. The Abrahamic covenant is our vision, sisters and brothers, and we are coming up out of the land of our affliction and returning to our land, Arabia. And with that, I'm going to greet you as I came with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.